Hi guys, Justin here from Patriot Campers. I'm here at Patriot Campers HQ, right next to our manufacturing facility on the Gold Coast in Queensland, Australia, where a very exciting time is happening for the company. We've got the ST5 now rolling down the production line. We just completed a huge final shakedown trip, final functionality testing on the ST5 down in Tasmania. The series will be coming out on Patriot Games, where you get to see what actually went into this. But I thought it was a really good opportunity before we even left for this trip to run everybody through an in-depth look at the ST5 and really the reason why we've produced this trailer the way that we've produced it. I feel like we've really raised the bar. We're setting a new standard when it comes to design of a towable item. Big influences come obviously through the manufacturing of Patriot Campers over 11 years now, and a big influence of the off-road racing program that we run here at Patriot Campers. My engineering team, my production staff have all been involved, and as a group we have learnt so much about how to get a vehicle to travel across rough terrain and make that vehicle last. So everything that we've learnt, we've put into this new product, into the ST5. You're going to hear it from me directly in this series, the reasons why we've done this thing the way that we've done it. We're going to start off with the chassis and suspension, which will be in this video, and then we're going to launch consecutive videos that are going to take you through different sections of the ST5. It's going to answer a lot of questions for the customers that have already committed to the product or people that haven't had the opportunity yet to see an ST5, which we now have here in the showroom at Patriot HQ. We also have one in our showroom in Las Vegas, so we'll be doing the show rounds around there. So I hope you enjoy this series. You're going to hear it from the horse's mouth. You're going to hear a lot more detail than what you'll see in the marketing videos. We've put a lot of effort into this product to create the luxury style living when it comes to real, true, off-the-grid touring. But in this video here, I'll have the opportunity to really dive into the weeds, and you guys will understand a little bit more. So I hope you enjoy this series. The foundation of any of the Patriot Campers products is always the chassis. Now, we've learned a lot in the past 10 or 11 years when it comes to remote destination traveling. People have heard me say over the years, and I get it a lot when I go to the trade shows, if we ever had a structural failure on a Patriot Campers, I don't know what I'd do. And I'm really happy to say over the 10 years of Patriot Campers, or almost 11 years now, when it comes to the foundation of what you're riding on with your camper trailer, the chassis has been something that we've always been extremely good at. We're still using a lot of those original fundamental techniques, and if you've been following Patriot Campers, laser cut tube we start with, which is actually manufactured by my brother at his facility in a state-of-the-art piece of equipment. Now all of the laser cutting and even down to the chassis, we can get accurate to 0.01 of a millimetre. Some of those techniques that we're still using is the interlocking of all of our tube. So basically we put kind of a finger joint in before we weld all of the tube up, and we're still running with hot dip galvanizing. That's something that we're never going to change. Hot dip galvanizing is by far the most superior coating that you couldn't put on a chassis. There is just no debate about that. The big advantage is the zinc keying into the steel, into the material, and it actually forms part of the material. When it comes to Duragal chassis or painted chassis, like we see a lot of specifically imported products doing, it's a very inferior coating. It's something you can scratch off with a key. So imagine going down the Gibb River Road with rocks pounding your chassis consistently. You just can't get rid of it when it comes to the galvanised coating. Another really big thing with the galvanising, and it's part of the engineering part of the structure, is the galvanising's ability to anneal the welds, making for much, much stronger welds, getting that temperature control right through the chassis from when we apply the heat in welding, and being able to stress relieve and ensure that none of the welds are going to crack. You can see on this chassis here, this is actually the first production model, like I said, but we've made another really substantial change that's going to be coming out. This trailer is mine. The next one that we're building when we go into our high rate production, which hits the production line next month, is our first customer unit. And we've actually gone to a bigger chassis. So we've gone to a bigger section. The reason for that is the most latest testing that we've done, the punishment that we can give this suspension, we really wanted to increase the capacity of what the chassis is capable doing when it comes to FEA. Now, we've tested everything in FEA up to 6 Gs. We've certified everything at 4 Gs as per the Vehicle Standards Bulletin, which is issued in Australia when it comes to all of those loads. But the big difference that you'll see here, we no longer have a interchangeable drawbar. There is no need for it. We have full articulation around a 2 metre wide vehicle now. We've gone to 150 by 100 by 4 mil drawbar, and we've rated the drawbar up to 3.5 tonnes, even though this trailer has an ATM of 2.6 tonne, and once again, that's due to what the suspension is capable of doing now, which we're going to show you some videos from some of the testing with the engineering team on what we put this specific trailer through. It was just insane. At the back of the trailer, we have a lighter section, so we're using 150 by 50 by 3 mil, and that's to pull as much weight out of the trailer in the areas that are non-structural. But we've used a lot of techniques when it comes to the design, the capabilities of my engineering team, and the FEA analysis when we do it in CAD, that we're only putting the weight and the structure into the areas that are getting those really high impact stresses. So the chassis on this thing is an absolute work of art, something I'm extremely proud of, and it is something that's been tested independently. So regardless of the structure of what's sitting above, which we're going to go into in another video, that chassis can withstand any punishment that me or possibly any of our other customers are ever going to give it. Moving around to the back of the trailer, before we get into the suspension, which I'm pretty excited about. I'll probably do a whole video on that one, but I'll try and keep it short and to the point. A lot of design cues from past Patriot Campers models. Massive skid rails at the back protecting all the water tanks. All the water tanks are covered by a bash guard. A new system that we've implemented into this trailer specifically for our customers overseas. We now have a fully heated underbody in this trailer. So we have a manifold that runs off the diesel heater. I'll get into that a little bit later on. Fully heats the whole belly of the trailer. So there is no chance of a water line or a water tank freezing. So if you're camping in sub-zero temperatures, huge advantage. We got rate of recovery points at the back. Big steel rear bumper, very similar to the X-Range, and we've tried to maximize that departure angle in the ST5. But in the event that you had to drag its bum over anything, there's really no chance. As you can see, everything's sitting above the chassis rail. Up the front, in the production models, when we go into high rate production, you can fit a full-size 35 with a mud terrain tyre up the front too, which is a big advantage. Now let's get into the TRINAMIC suspension. I think for people who've been following the ST5 progress, you're going to notice massive change. After we done the testing in the Simpson Desert, which was very successful, it just wasn't perfect. It wasn't the nirvana that we were looking for, and we took the whole suspension system and we threw it in the bin. And we really started again. I think the guys that are really savvy are going to notice the position of the airbag sitting on the main control arm. At the moment, the trailer's at full extended height, so you'll see the airbags in relation to the bases look like they're on an extreme angle, but they're well within manufacturing specifications. The reason it looks so pronounced is because this radius arm suspension system, the airbag load is running from east to west, and not north to south like you'll see on usual trailing arm setups. You'll see there's a big subframe, which is the blue area there, which is really inspired from the off-road racing programs. Every off-road race car is built off a central location, which is the main bulkhead. And the main bulkhead, or the subframe in the ST5, is attached to the chassis and bearing most of the brunt of the insane loads and the punishment that we can put this thing through. Trailing arms at the back, you've got an upper control arm and a lower control arm that's very similar to a vehicle style setup. You have camber adjustment bushes now. We don't have those big knuckles that we had in the past. And the main priority of the new design was relieving the loads that the airbag was putting as a sideways pressure onto the TRINAMIC suspension system. We found that we were having extreme kind of bump steer issues with the last design that we couldn't design out, and we kept going harder and harder on the bushes. And as the bushes kind of started wearing in, that bump steer problem would start coming back. So we had to really look at this thing from a whole new perspective. So the engineering team here at Patriot Campers, with some help of some amazing external people that are probably better versed in that world than we are, got involved. And this was one of the biggest collaborations that we've ever done with other companies outside of Patriot Campers. And we brought all of that knowledge from the off-road racing and all of those resources, the people in from the off-road racing world, to help us develop something that is brand new for the industry. We have gone to town on patents on this suspension system, because I feel that this is going to be the way that you're going to see the industry going. 250 mm suspension travel It's not for the beating on chest ego of I've got 250 mil of suspension travel. I've seen this massive shift over the past 5 years specifically in the ability of tow vehicles. You know, remote reservoir shocks are pretty much standard now. 3, 4, 5, 6-inch lifts are very much standard now. When you look at what everybody's doing with GVM upgrades and second stage manufacturer approvals on getting tow vehicles to travel across bumps a lot quicker and a lot smoother, I don't think that the towables or the caravan industry is really kind of caught up. If you look at the X-Range, for example, the X-Range and most caravans, most suspension systems have about 70 millimeters of travel. Now, to me, when the trailer's going through more punishment than the tow vehicle is, it puts a lot of stress on all of the other components, shakes everything inside to death, and this is something that we wanted to absorb. I'll get the boys to show a little bit of footage that we've done on testing over some really big holes at about 60, 70 kilometers an hour with this particular ST5. You can see all the GoPro mounts and the footage that you're about to watch are still on here, and you can see for yourself firsthand what TRINAMIC is actually capable of. So you can see in that footage, the actual tow vehicle was Sarah's 300 series Land Cruiser, which has the fulcrum upgrades, but is running on fundamentally standard shocks. And that's the ability of a standard 300 series. If I was to put that behind one of our big builds, we could definitely increase the pace. And a suspension system with 70 millimeters of travel just wouldn't handle that. Ultimately, you'd probably end up with the trailer on its roof. The ability of TRINAMIC to absorb those big bumps is really what we're looking for, that we can sit on those corrugations, you know, when we're up north or out in deep west, and we can do the speed limits. We don't have the luxury of, you know, being retired and doing 20 kilometers an hour. You know, we'd like to get to our campsites. We like to tour safely, but we like to do it quickly. We like to move around every day. And that's the ability of this, and obviously the articulation that you get when you get into those real hardcore kind of situations, that you got 250 mil of travel on either side. Running through a couple of the other big changes that we've made here, probably another first that I've never seen on a camper trailer before. We've gone to a fully sealed bearing unit, no different than what you'd see in your car, no different than what you'd see in your Y62 or your 200 series. An actual sealed bearing that can't ingress salt water, it can't ingress dust. It will last you maybe 500,000 kilometers, not your standard kind of every 5,000 Ks, repack the wheel bearings, and if you forget to do it, you'll spin a wheel bearing onto the stub or you'll break a stub axle. I actually broke a stub axle in Mongolia through absolutely no fault of the design. It was just a really big impact, and that destroyed my trip. With the new bearing style setup, there is zero chance of that ever happening. That's the biggest problem that we see with all of our towables, with all of our customers. So we've completely engineered that out of the equation. Disc brakes are standard. They're our own kind of proprietary system. We've got them hard brake lines running through the chassis all the way up to the reservoir up the front. So there's a lot of the things under here that you can't actually see or you don't see is where a lot of our time has been spent in engineering to ensure that we're keeping Patriot Campers at the forefront of the industry. So once again, it's a system that I'm extremely proud of. I think we've knocked this one out of the ballpark. We're about to go on our final 10,000 kilometer test with this particular unit, like I said before, and I think we're there. Shock valving now. We've done 28 setups, I think we're up to, of shock valving and sway bar setup, to get the compromise between on-road ride and off-road ride just absolutely perfect. But sitting on progressive rate airbags, we have the ability that as the airbag pressure increases, so as we load the trailer or as it hits the bump, the spring rate increases and it's going to absorb a lot more of that shock. So an absolutely amazing system, and probably one of the things of the ST5 that I'm most proud of. We've also partnered with Fulcrum Suspension Systems. I don't know anybody in Australia that wouldn't know who Fulcrum is. There's over 200 Fulcrum stores right across the country. So for ultimate peace of mind for all of our customers, for servicing of your suspension, for wheel alignment, which is almost infinitely adjustable, for spare parts. You can go to any Fulcrum store. We will have select stores that we'll be working with that will be holding spare parts. We'll publish all of that to all our Patriot owners. But the ability of a huge national service network to take care of everything underbody when it comes to your camper trailer is a huge feather in the cap for us, and a massive, massive relief, I think, for most of the Patriot customers. So there's your in-depth look into the chassis and suspension of the ST5. Stay tuned for the next video because we're going to dive into the construction. We're going to look really at the body of this thing and what makes a Patriot Camper ST5 so unique when it comes to the construction method.